And welcome to another Biddle, a special Europe edition of Biddle for Saturday, September 12th, 2020. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Hey,
Hello.
great.
Great.
Hello.
So,
everyone.
I love it. We have a full house already, and we have some people that we don't get to talk to all the time because they don't make the regular Biddle. Jill, how are you? Well, some people you got to unmute because Jill, you're muted.
Bad Jill.
Hi, everybody.
I am doing great. We've had lots of really good Linux stories the last few weeks.
Yep. And there's Robin. Robin, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. How are you all?
Awesome. And we have an EB sighting. I love it. Haven't seen EB in so long. What's going on, brother?
Good evening. Oh, loads. Lovely to see you all. Rocco, great to see you, buddy. You're looking really, really well and fit as usual. Very jealous. Great to see you all.
And of course, we have the bearded wonder, Tony.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not too bad. I've got a bit of a dodgy back, but apart from that, I'm not
Well,
too
you
bad.
weren't here last time, brother.
I wasn't here last time, no. I wasn't feeling well that weekend either.
Well, we missed you.
Thank you.
And we
Rocco.
have, yeah, Bill, go ahead.
Are we open for business?
Oh, you're right,
Oh,
Bill.
yes.
We are officially open
There
for
we
business.
Yoo-hoo.
Good for the reminder.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it.
Bill's always there.
And the last one for, well, I think there's one more. Jeff, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
And we have MC in the house, and although MC is not, across the sea, he has not been able to make it for Bill lately, so we miss you, brother.
Well, the evening job is taking its toll, but I'm glad I could be here on the afternoon editions.
Yep, it's fantastic. All right, so what's everybody been up to? Jill, what's been going on lately in your world?
Oh boy. Well, I've done lots of podcasting lately. Destination Linux a few weeks ago.
Yep,
and,
that was a great show.
I really enjoyed that one. That was really fun. And
I think they need to have you come back, Jill. I'm just saying.
oh, I would love to.
That would be a perfect series of episodes of your computer history with Jill. That would be great.
Yeah, that's so much fun. For me. That's one of my passions is collecting my computers and
Right.
old and vintage. So it's really nice to show them off, and I
But
really
you have
enjoy
so
doing
many.
that. Yeah,
You have so many, and you have so many different ones,
yeah.
like rare ones. So yeah, it was great to listen to.
Awesome.
All right, Robin, you sent out a few tweets these past couple of weeks, brother. You've been doing some things. So tell us about your videos and your 3D printing.
Oh yeah, my 3D printed. Yeah, well, we can thank the missus for that one there. So we bought a 3D printer for our daughter who's doing design technology for her GCSE. So they actually will be covering a lot of CAD, as it were. So we'll sort of give her a bit of a head start on that one. So yeah, we've printed off a couple of things. As called tests. So yeah, you would have seen me on my tweets posts little USB holder here. So I've got a nice little caddy to put my my USBs in, and yes, you can make micro SD versions of these. So there are plenty of designs out there. I haven't printed one off yet. We'll get around to it eventually. But aside from that, I started a new position at work. So I'm now going to be doing a lot of content production for my company, which is great. We are doing some live streaming this week, and I believe it or not, I'm going to be using Ubuntu Studio to do
Nice.
the conference with this week. So that'll be a test from me. But the good thing is, say again?
Are you able to talk about your company and what you're doing?
Well, because I work for the CBI, which is the Confederation of British Industry, and they are the voice of business. So there's a lot going on, obviously, around COVID-19, and we help businesses, obviously, run themselves, and obviously there's a lot of policy, etc., around that. From my side, I previously worked as a technical operations where I was running the website and the release cycles of the updates to the website, helping out the production team with their needs. And then my role was becoming redundant. So I went through a consultation period for 6 weeks. And then I'm pleased to say that I applied for one of the new roles as content production lead, and I was successful in that one. So I'm able now to obviously bring a lot of my skills and expertise out. So now I'm using a lot more video and audio tools. The guys on my team know what a fantastic wealth of experience I have to bring to the table. They've got a lot of knowledge sharing out of me. And I'm getting really excited by what's lying ahead for the next few months, because we're working collaboratively with ITM Productions to host a lot of our conferences, because we've got to do it all online as well. So yeah, I'll be taken along to the office. In fact, it'll be my first trip out of the house properly on a train going into London. I haven't
That's
seen
so
any.
sad to be able to say, dude.
Do you know what? I'm quite frightful of the fact to actually see my colleagues in the flesh again. I haven't seen them in 7 months, and even though we talk to each other a lot, obviously virtually, it's going to be quite a bit of a weird feeling going into the office again, and being socially distanced from them all, tables that far apart from each other, and we've all got to try and work still as a team, but doing it from a distance, yeah, that'll be quite a challenge. But hey ho, I bought myself another laptop, and this laptop here has got Ubuntu Studio on it. Oh, suddenly it goes to the screen here. So it's got Ubuntu Studio on it, up and running and ready to go. I've got all I need. All my tools are there. Audacity. I've got OBS. I've done loads of tests with it. It's ready to go. So I'm quite excited by that fact, and I can prove to my IT company that there is life outside of Microsoft, which is great. But besides that, I'm getting really excited by loads of people contacting me saying about their releases, which is great. As I think they're liking the fact they might be liking my videos. And speaking of my videos, my channel is growing. Not much still, but it's getting there. And the more and more videos I do and I upload, the better they get, the more confident I feel. I'm really enjoying it now, and I'm quite surprised actually that my KDE Neon one is doing well at the moment. I'm not quite sure who my audience is out there, but thank you for watching. If you're watching this stream here today, and I appreciate all your comments and your feedback. It's exciting when I do one. This baby here will help me do a lot of my testing going forward. So obviously I'll stick ISOs on there, and I could do live capture and actually show you without having to interfere with my recordings as such. But yeah, so I can talk about it actually, because the announcement's already gone out. Endeavour are launching an ARM version of their distro this week.
Really? I didn't hear that. How did I miss that?
Seriously? Goodness gracious me. No, they announced it with the July release. If you have watched my video, you'll see that I actually went through that. But yeah, ARM, they have got the distribution ready to release in parallel alongside their September release. So they've managed to push that out early, because they normally do 3-month cycles, as they normally do with their rollouts. There's going to be a lot of patches and bug fixes, etc. There's something I think up with NVIDIA that they've managed to fix as well. So that's coming in the release this week. But yeah, so if you've got ARM, maybe you might want to try putting Endeavour on one of your Pinebook Pros if you've got one. But I am told, if it works right, that you can actually install Endeavour ARM on a Raspberry Pi. So I'll be interested to get some thoughts and feedback on that one when that happens. But yeah, and going forward, I'm thinking about getting a Raspberry Pi now, but I've got to find something to excite me about it. I mean, is it just going to be another box that sits in the corner of my room?
Okay, so for me, it's going to be another box, dude.
It's just going to be another box, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Got too many other things to do. I mean, no, there's some people that love Raspberry Pis, and they are great for certain scenarios, but it's nothing that I need or nothing that would excite me. So, all right, EB, it's your turn, brother.
Not really got a lot to say other than thrilled to be here. I've done
Well, what
very
have you been
little.
up to, dude?
Well, just being ill, and if you want me to be honest, I've been gaming.
What have you been
I've
playing?
done Warframe and trucking and Monster Hunter World. Yeah, 57. You got to be asking questions. I need to book in somewhere. But look, it's been terrific. So I've done very little Linuxing. However, I've kind of got back in the saddle last couple of days, and I've been enjoying the pants out of Zorin OS 15.3 Lite.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what's blown me away in such a short space of time, just how far snaps have come. Because out the box, of course, it's snaps friendly and ready right out the box. So I bought OBS Studio down, and would you believe I have never seen such a loaded version of OBS Studio out the box? There's just about every conceivable plugin pre-installed.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, EB. Have you noticed there's been a lot of updates to that over the last few weeks?
Fantastic.
This is going to be helping me with my conference this week. I can't believe the number of tools that we've now got in this software.
Yeah, and it's just so cool. And everything I put into the software center, Discord, Telegram, you name it, all straight there as a snap. Bang, down it comes. Completely doesn't interfere with the operating system in any way. Everything just works. Oh, wow. Mind-blowing. Knock yourself out. And it all came about because Sudo Reboot did a live stream on Linux Deepin. And, of course, we had the usual banter about it being, you know, about as bad with spyware as what Microsoft Windows 10 is, you know, standard joke. And Sudo was saying how beautifully themed the new Deepin is, and with the rounded corners and all that sort of stuff on the theming. Yeah, Zorin OS is exactly the same, but I just think it's fantastic. What a great job they've done on the light version. So I'm just knocking myself out with that, guys. That's about it at the minute.
It's fast.
Well, are you going to be doing a video on it?
Well, I've already done a live stream on it this morning. A bit of a controversial one because I was having a bit of a tongue-in-cheek dig at Sudo Rebo.
I can't believe that you would have a controversial video or live stream.
No, it's just so out of character.
It is.
It's, you know, I'm so relaxed, laid back, and conformative. It's unreal. But who are you? What have you done with the real English Bob? Thank you, Ferran. Bless you. Yeah, I ran Ferran OS as well for about a week and a half, and that's still installed on a hard drive. And I had a pretty good time with that as well. But I've got to be honest, Zorin OS Lite has blown me away. I just think it's great fun. Just lob it on your computer. Now, all right, I've put it on an older dual-core processed computer. But just lob it on your computer, bring your software down, leave it alone, you're done. Looks fantastic, really fast. Your software just works. Brilliant. Knock yourself out.
Did you do any changes to the theming?
Other than the typical, I'm going to change the highlight color, and that's kind of my only gripe about the whole system, because I changed it from the default white to dark because personally I like dark themes, and then I changed it from blue to amber. But it not only changes the highlight colors to amber, it also puts an amber tint on the whole theming and screen. So I immediately thought I was back in the 1980s looking at one of the old amber apricot monitors. But apart from that, it's fantastic. I love all the theming options. The icon set is absolutely beautiful. No need to do anything. Just, as I say, throw it on your computer and enjoy the pants out of it.
What are your thoughts on the theming options available? Because I took a look at 15.3 the other day, and the first thing I thought was I like the fact that you got extra layouts and you got a bit more to play with, but there wasn't really much option to kind of play around with the color scheme much. You make it dark, you make it orange, you make it purple, blue, red, whatever, and there wasn't really more you could do with that.
Yeah, but it's one of them double-edged swords, isn't it? You know, KDE, as we know, Plasma is just fantastic. What a great operating system. But the first thing I do is open up the settings and think, really? I could, you know, it's like you need a volume War and Peace just to explain all the settings. So it's almost an impossible job for any distro to provide theming and icon sets and all the rest of it that's going to please everybody on the planet. Never going to happen. So your two criticisms all these theming options is either A, people don't care in the first place, so it doesn't really matter, having all these advanced features because nobody cares anyway. And on the other side of the coin, you got the people who absolutely love to theme their pants out of something, and then their argument straight away is, well, it's too limited. I can't, there's not enough. So I think it's an impossible task for any distro developer, to get theming perfect for everybody. I have to be honest, I think Ferren does one of the best theming jobs I've ever seen, because you can be silly and make it look like Windows 98, or you can, really, with it being Plasma, you can literally get down to each nut and bolt basic and make it totally your own. I think for a typical Zorin type user who's going to lob it onto the computer and leave it alone, probably not even care that much about the theming, I think they've done a fantastic job. I think they've hit a nice little balance between, hey, look, there's a load of different theming options if you're interested. If you're not, fine, just lob it on, leave it alone. But of course, I can only talk about the light version. I've not had to go with the full blown, if you like, Zorin. So,
well, I think you're spot on there, EB, because I'm going to assume that most Zorin users are not going to change anything. We're a group of people that like to change stuff, like to customize stuff, but most people don't care. They just use whatever's there, and I think. I don't know. Zorin looks really good regardless of what you say. So it may not be your taste, but for a distro to give to somebody to just put there and say here and use it, I think it looks great.
But everything works straight out of the box, which is the beauty of it.
I was very impressed and shocked with Snaps, because I do have a little pet side project running, which is to use President Putin's own Debian Russian-based distro and add flat packs to it. So therefore, I don't have to break, if you like, the terms of usage by adding, PPAs or installing deb files or stuff like that. And this kind of preempted that and just blew me away. As I say, I think the last time I played with an OBS Snaps was the one that Alan Pope did, which was fantastic. But this OBS, which is a Snap, which is the default one, not only has the NVIDIA drivers inbuilt, has all the AMD drivers, and it has every conceivable plugin you could want. So you've not got to go trawling around the internet, downloading this Linux plugin, that Linux. It's all just there, which I think is just fantastic. But of course, that's probably more down to Canonical and Ubuntu than Zorin. And I still say to this day, every Linux enthusiast on the planet owes Ubuntu and Canonical a debt of gratitude, because I think those guys do so much. I think they take so much hate and so much grief, and I think it's so unfounded, unwarranted, and unjust. They're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Who wants to be a nobody? But, for me, I think Canonical do a wonderful job, and they come out with a lot of the stuff that we all take for granted on a lot of other distros. So without those guys, I think we'd all be in a much poorer place, quite frankly.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. I know there are a lot of people, not a lot of people, I know there are some loud people out there that don't agree, that think, they're terrible and they're the root of all evil. But I think we would nowhere near be where we are in Linux without all of their contributions. Nowhere. So
yep, couldn't agree with you more, Rocco.
Yeah, exactly. So true.
All right, anybody else try Zorin? I know it's only been out for a little bit, a couple days, but anybody else? Shickle, come on.
Well, I've been a little preoccupied with this whole sort of accepting Google as my savior kind of thing.
Wow. So what's the draw to drawing you into Google?
So, that whole it just works statement?
Yep.
I haven't had a more pleasant first week experience with a machine on anything else than this Pixel.go. And I think it's just kind of, that's been it. That's really been what's taken me aback, is just that since everything I do is really on the web anyway, and I have access to Android apps, why would I even care? I just want to get stuff done. So, yeah.
Yep.
I'm crazy.
Yep.
Well, I've got a very quick one for you all, if I may, Rocco.
Yes.
I had some great breaking news while I was off ill. I believe you guys, poor guys and girls in the United States, the FAA over there have given Amazon full approval to do all their small deliveries up to a certain weight by drone, which is really, really cool. However, I have two serious concerns about this when it becomes available in the UK. And Amazon already have all the helipads built for the drones in the UK ready to go. They're just seeking EU approval, of course. And my two concerns are, number one, within 24 hours of the delivery service being launched, the local news service will be running a story: man killed by PlayStation 4 dropped from 300 feet by drone whilst on way home from work. And he was walking.
Evie.
Yeah, well, no, he was walking because COVID-19 said you shouldn't use your car, walk. And my concern number two is these little drones are so powerful and yet they are so noisy, which is fine for one or two. But imagine having 10,000 drones buzzing around. You're going to walk around permanently thinking you got tinnitus in your ears, haven't you? It's going to be horrendous, the noise levels. So I just wondered if you guys and girls were excited by it. Don't give a shiny one about it. Hadn't even heard about it. But it's really big news over here in the UK.
Haven't even heard about it. But like, what's the weight limit that it can haul?
I believe it's 8 kilos.
Okay.
Not bad.
Yeah, because that would be terrible.
Myself, but I can't say
I'm excited.
What's that, Jeff?
I haven't heard about it myself, but I can't say I'm impressed.
No.
Well, I have to say, sales over here in the UK of air rifles have gone through the roof because people are ready to shoot the drones down and get free PS4s. Just saying, dude.
Well, soon it's going to be PS5, so this can even get worse.
Well, I think Amazon has always been on the front of everything. And I'm sorry, you may hate them because they're big and you may not like the owner of the company or whatever, but they do things the right way in their business. I'm sorry. There is nobody that does it better than Amazon right now. So
as an Amazon employee, I have no complaints.
Yeah, and you spot on. But do you know what is really scary about that statement, Rocco? I don't know about the rest of the world, but in the UK, Amazon are absolutely cleaning up.
Yeah.
Whether it's a small retailer, whether it's a large multinational, they're all going bust over here. Amazon are raking in because they provide the modern day service that people want. And
a lot of people are moving their services from whatever they're doing now to the Amazon platform. They use EDT and all that kind of stuff. And they're just going to be, it's just streamlining all their shipping needs because they sell it from Amazon, ship it through Amazon, store it at Amazon. It just cuts a lot of the cost out for even some of the smaller businesses now, because they can just use the Amazon platform directly.
But what is even more cool about Amazon, forget the retailing side. The retailing side is a drop in the ocean. It's not even lunch money. Don't forget, more or less right from the word go, Amazon pretty much power the bulk of the internet. You know, Amazon storage servers, web servers, they power most of the global internet, not just a country. Wow, what you got to take your hats off to Amazon, love them or hate them.
They also control Twitch, so they have Twitch as a platform, and now they're going to start. They're really getting into gaming. The gaming industry is their next little thing. They're looking at take New World as their one biggest. When they're going to be their big MMO that's coming out here and going in beta in April, I think it is, of 2021. So I mean, Amazon's everywhere. They got their little fingers and everything.
It is, and the other thing that we have over here in the UK, I don't know about you guys around the rest of the world, is everybody gripes, moans and complains that Amazon, Google just don't pay their fair share of taxes. But my question always is it Amazon's and Google's fault that they can get around the UK tax laws? It's not their fault. It's a natural thing to do. If you've got the choice of paying $1 million tax or $10 tax, I don't know of anybody on the planet who's like, I'll pay the $1 million. Screw the 10. Yeah, I'll have $1 million.
Yeah.
So is it really those guys' faults? Is it not the convoluted governments of the country's faults?
Well,
there's been a big contention here in the United States as well as whether or not the rich pay their due share.
Okay, who's typing?
Sorry, me.
Okay.
Yeah, Evie, and regarding the drones here in LA County, it's been a huge thing because they've already been doing tests and whatnot. So but within my community, the big thing is the sound ordinances. Exactly what you were saying. In my community, they've already had a meeting about it. Like, will they be too loud? Because everyone orders from Amazon. We get our shipments in an hour. Because here in LA, we were like the first like 10 years ago, we were getting our shipments from Amazon in an hour.
Yeah,
we
but I
were-
was like the first ones to get the prime.
Yes.
Yeah, but I was told that Walmart is working on a Prime equivalent as well.
They are.
Yeah.
The
Because they
issue
have
with
to compete.
that right now, though, is the fee. Right now, it's
Right.
in order to the delivery fee. If right now they have two options, they have get it delivered or do the express, and which is Amazon's version of Prime, which you get the 2-day thing. And there's express, which can be done. It's kind of like Instacart. It can be done within the 2 hours or whatever. So Walmarts are everywhere.
Yeah.
But apparently it's a I don't know the numbers, but apparently people are talking about in the news that it is a huge fee.
Well, but think about that: $125 a year, and you can have most of your not all of them, most of your shipments the next day or within 2 days. Like who's yes,
Yeah,
please
who would say no?
take the money. Yes. I mean,
Of course, this is also a real bad double-edged sword by the same token, because as you know, society is being completely de-assimilated, and because of COVID and what all the different governments are trying to force the populations to do. But the other double whammy, which I've been talking about for months now, is the advent of AI on the horizon, and how AI is going to literally wipe swathes of jobs out for whole industries for real people. And everybody's like, oh yeah, no. But let's just now take Amazon. In the UK, Amazon intend, or their goal is to do a 20-minute delivery from point of order via drone, which is fantastic, right? So now just think about that overnight. Let's just say somebody like SmithKline Beecham or Pfizer, one of the massive pharmaceutical companies, say, listen, Amazon, you're doing such a good job with your drones. Listen, can we dispatch all our drugs via Amazon? There's your local little chemists wiped out overnight, literally, because people will have a 20-minute delivery on drugs. Fantastic.
Yep.
So the potential, whilst it's fantastic and it's really exciting, also the potential to wipe out swathes of people's jobs in the blink of an eye is because these people, which have been saying for months, they don't just disappear. They're not just numbers. They've still got to put food on the table. They've still got families to take care of. What the hell are all these people going to do for a job?
They're going to become drone maintainers.
Yeah, drone engineers. But I mean, the problem is the problem with that statement is, of course, the drones are all AI, so they're self-aware. So
so this is something that we faced multiple times. Whenever the reality of it is like people find a way. We're flexible. We naturally are always driven to have something to do, because whether it's boredom that drives us or it's just innovation and wanting something new. Even with COVID, what we've noticed is that even these little shops that close down because there's not enough people going out to make sandwiches, well, they now have the opportunity to either work in another field or do something that changes their business and makes it more appealing and more accessible.
Okay, Shickle, but if you look at it on the biggest scale, what really scares me, let's just go to the other extreme and be really silly just for a second, right? Let's just say Elon Musk and Bill Gates and all the rest of him really nail AI, right? And let's just say within a 6-month period, right, suddenly there's no truck drivers, there's no pilots, there's no train drivers, there's no surgeons anymore, because that's all done by AI. There's no insurance call center girls anymore. That's all done by AI bots.
That's not a bad thing, because essentially once we get to that point, the extreme scale is the best possible option, because that means we won't have to do those things by that point. We'll have the freedom to do other things.
Yeah, but like what, Shickle? I mean, in the previous revolution, it was fantastic, but the machines still needed humans to operate them. So that was great.
And
there was
right
plenty
now,
of
that's a
work,
technical
plenty of
limitation.
trades. What are all these? I mean, the only thing I can think of, which would be a great idea, is either become a funeral director, because there's no shortage of business there, or get yourself into the market of solar panel salesmen. You can't go wrong. Everybody wants solar panels.
It sounds scary. It really does. Honestly, the hardest part of transitioning to more automated tech is the transition. It's not the end goal that's difficult for people, because by that point, all of the needs are satisfied. What's really difficult for us is getting there. Because in the meantime, yeah, you're right. People will lose their jobs when there's less to do. and they will have to find other ways to fill their time. And
I think the only saving grace on the horizon, Chickle, and please agree or disagree, is the green energy industry. I think there'll be a metric butt ton of new jobs and careers in the green energy sector, you know, from solar panels to heaven knows what, to battery research. So that may well be the saving grace, the safety net that saves people and gives them the opportunity.
The biggest thing with the whole AI dilemma is not just, you know, the transition and all that stuff, is the affordability of the goods, so to speak. So if you're switching everything to automation, then, and you don't have to pay people, that's going to draw the price down of said goods. The biggest issue, like you were saying, you're talking about people being unemployed and not having jobs or having to go do something else or whatever the case may be. So that, again, is going to be another transition where they have to realize all this automation is, yes, it's going to make things cleaner. Yes, it's going to make things quicker. Yes, yada, yada, this. But is people going to be able to actually take advantage of it and afford it? So they will keep those things in mind. There'll be training courses. There'll be people that when they do remove people from one aspect of the culture, business model, whatever, they'll develop a new business model for that, based off of what needs the company will have that will still need people, because they can't just have robots. Next thing you know, we're gonna have the Terminator, and we're all gonna be hiding in little bunkers trying to kill each other, trying to kill robots. They're not going to take it hopefully not going to take it quite that far if we're going to the extremes. But what I mean is that there'll be training, there'll be ways that they'll put people back into the workforce. Otherwise, there's not going to be anybody to buy all the goods that they're making quicker and more efficiently. They have to look at the economy.
This at Amazon, by the way.
Yeah, they're looking at doing it, the automation, the whole sorting automation.
But the problem with it is, Jason, you've also got the other extreme. We here in the UK are so bright, so ahead of the curve. It's mind-numbing. So we had the announcement this week from the Ministry of Defence that they are thinking of scrapping all the British Challenger 2 tanks, which they've invested billions in to develop. They could have brought the American Abrams. No, we're going to make our own because we're the elite, the best of the best. So we're going to scrap all the tanks, and do you know what we're going to replace it with? Computers. Because we're going to focus on cyber warfare. So that's great. So if Putin invades the UK tomorrow with 600 or 6,000 T-72 tanks, we can throw computer monitors at them. How effective is that going to be? How bright are we in the UK? Cool, sorted.
Well, they'll all have to do then, if they can do it with computers.
So there's going to be a long line of people queuing up
tanks.
For computer monitor chucker jobs in the UK.
All they got to do is update those tanks. Add computers to the tanks, let the tanks drive themselves, make them drones, and then...
and go get CRTs from the landfills. There's the good use.
There's going to be a rush deal on CRTs on eBay. Trust me. CRTs on there.
I've got a CRT upstairs.
I gotta know how we got from Linux to tanks. Like, how did we do that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting off
that Star Trek episode.
Sorry,
Evie's in the house.
Actually, it started with Chrome. We started when we were talking about Google.
Oh my God!
I don't know what you're talking about.
By the way, just one more quickie for a shush. Did you all get your free Google Nest?
Yes.
No. Don't care.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
What?
Well, in the UK, obviously here, if you had a Spotify premium account, you qualified for a free Google Nest or something. So what happened here in the UK is all the young guys and girls were switched on. They had 10, 15 accounts each. They got 10, 15 Nests each and flogged them on eBay for 20 quid. Nice.
I didn't hear about that.
Break the system.
Never heard of that.
I have 6 Google Nest APs in my house.
Oh my! You are all Googled
I
up.
don't have the only Google product. Actually, I don't have any Google products. I downloaded that Cloud Ready thing that Chickle was talking about. Been playing around with that, and then I found out that Google Remote Desktop.
Oh,
I started playing with that, and I've so far been able to control. From the Linux machines, I can control the Linux machines. From the Mac, I can control the Linux machines or the PC.
That's been the incredible thing about Chrome is like it enables these features not just on Chrome OS. If you're on Windows, you have Remote Desktop via Chrome. You have your web apps via Chrome.
I thought they were killing Chrome Remote Desktop.
No, they just beefed it up big time. It's nice.
Oh, okay.
They're killing the Cloud Print, but.
Yeah,
yeah. That's
man, I love Cloud.
I just
want to.
So
yeah,
cool, right?
I used to use it all the time too.
Who wanted to ask something? No, somebody wanted to ask something. Who?
It's me.
Okay, Abdallah, go ahead.
Okay. I want the question was about. I just forget.
All right, we'll get back to you, Abdallah. Hold on one second.
Sorry. I just
Big
forget
Pod,
again.
you've had your hand up for a while. Dude.
Well, I want to know what's that Amazon thing your guys talking about? We don't have that here.
Oh.
We don't even have the 10-year delivery.
Unfortunately,
we can get it, but
10-year delivery.
The offer's now ended. They've run out of stock due to high demand.
Yeah. Well, there's so many things out of stock. I mean, you guys heard the story on Linux User Space where Joe was looking for a mic, and all of them are out of stock.
Everybody's working from home now.
I know. So, yeah, a lot of things are out
you
of
could
stock.
always go to China and possibly get like a cheap headset from there.
Hey, there's Dr. Random.
There he is.
What up, JJ?
How's it going? Week after birthday Saturday, so
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy belated, JJ.
Wait, it was yesterday.
No, it was
Last week.
last Saturday. Actually.
Oh, okay. Because yesterday it was my wife's birthday, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mine is today.
Oh.
Yours is today, Daniel?
Daniel. happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Many
Happy
penguins.
Don't sing it. There's a copyright rule on singing it.
How old are you, Daniel?
I just turned 20 and my video is off.
Oh my gosh, I feel so old.
Congratulations on another
Hey,
year
Daniel.
of staying alive.
Yeah.
Even through this pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All you youngsters out there.
I know.
Hey,
I mean,
We're the same age.
we're
I
trying
mean-
to acquire the torch that you're handing us, so.
I mean, EB, how's that feel
I'm sorry.
when Daniel says he's 20, dude?
Fantastic. It makes me feel like I should contact, David Attenborough and do a dinosaurs roaming on Earth episode.
Sorry,
it's a real ego boost, that is, yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh goodness.
Oh, that's great.
Jason Starbuck, I remember the question.
Okay, go ahead.
You talk about the remote computer, right? In Google Chrome, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Is the Google Chrome that you were talking about? Is it like a SSL protocol or something similar?
No idea.
I have no idea. Basically, what
The,
it do is you download an extension, add it to Chrome, and then it downloads a little something in the background. And
so it uses the cast extension protocol. So basically, Chromecast, and then.
I mean, you can control any computer that's work with this with the Google Chrome.
far.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, I've got, like I said, I've got it on Manjaro, I've got it on Mint,
Yeah.
I've got it on, of course, the
even
Google
works on
Cloud Ready
Android.
thing, Mac and PC.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Hey, I
My
was even
question-
shocked that I had an issue with my bank, and I, chatted with them online, and I says, can you fix this? And she says, yeah, stand by a minute. And she turned on something, and the session went live, and I'm watching her mouse, do everything that is happening in the account. I'm like, wow, that's great.
And scary.
Rocco, yeah, that's not really a great example, is it? Because I was chatting to a gorgeous lady online from my local bank, giving it the Barry McGuig and telling her how gorgeous she was. Absolutely loved her accent, and she just typed randomly. You do realise I'm a bot. Have a bit of that, EB. Lovely.
There's a way to get EB AI, as you were
Have a
talking
bit of
about
that.
earlier.
EB case study that came up with her.
Yeah.
The movie.
Yeah.
Oh my
Busted.
gosh.
Oh lordy.
Let's get back on track here somehow. Tony, save us. What have you been up to, dude? You been doing anything interesting lately?
Which one, me?
Which
Yeah, you.
Tony, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've anyone been trying Sparky Linux recently?
No.
Never tried it.
'Cause,
Yes.
Well, it's a Debian-based distro, but they also
Rolling.
do.
Yeah, Sparky is
Rolling.
I was going to say, just a minute. They do a stable and a rolling, and I've been playing with the rolling.
nice.
I thought the stable was just too Debian.
You're missing
So I
something
thought
though,
I'd have a go with
Tony.
the roll.
You're missing something
And
though.
Actually, it's really good.
It's running
I'm
Debian
really enjoying
11.
it. Pardon?
Oh.
It's running Debian 11. Bullseye.
Yeah, it's based on testing. So you get all the updates into testing. And I'm going to be doing a review on it next week for Distro Hoppers. So get your ears on, get your podcatchers signed up, and you'll hear what I think about it fully on there. But going back to what EB, this has now become the EB show. You notice when he comes back on the show.
Hey, any show that EB joins, that's what it's going to be like.
What you were saying about Ubuntu, I started with Linux when Ubuntu really started to get popular back in 2006, 2007. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Ubuntu, because Linux was a little bit too techy for me before then. But so I think we all owe. But then we've got to say we all owe Debian an awful lot, because without Debian, Ubuntu wouldn't exist. So, it goes both ways as well.
It definitely goes both ways, Tony. But the only thing I'll add to that is we do owe Debian a lot. But it's Ubuntu that made it easy for everybody.
Yeah.
Debian is great, and it's the cornerstone of it. But it definitely was not easy, and we would not be near as far if it was just Debian, because there would be that roadblock in the way. Ubuntu is the one that paved that road and said, here, to the masses, this is what you can do with it, and made it easy. And there's rough spots, along the way, but geez, what would we do without them?
I mean,
they brought the modern desktop really to the world.
They did.
I mean, there was some other distros that had some pretty nice desktops, but at that time, they nailed it. They nailed it with their implementation of GNOME, and
if you're going through
when you were talking earlier, I was just thinking 15 years ago when I first started using Linux. Well, 14 years ago, Ubuntu was the thing. Everyone was giving it really large about Ubuntu, and now everyone who talks about Ubuntu wants to knock it. So it's come full circle.
Yeah. Well, isn't Debian sort of in that stage right now with its runtime debate?
Yeah.
There's Dr. Random. Okay, moving on. The original Tony. Tony, how are you? That's you, Tony. Yep.
Yeah, I'm good.
So what have you installed lately, brother?
What haven't I installed lately would be an easier question to answer.
We all know, brother. We know.
Since last weekend, I went through about 6 or 7 different distros, ended up back on Ubuntu, and then Manjaro released their KDE version.
They did. Yep.
Just after I installed it. So Ubuntu went, and I'm now actually running the Manjaro version, and so far, so good.
It's fantastic.
Anybody tried the MX Linux with KDE? That's supposed to be sublime as well.
No, I haven't tried it. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I tried it. Yeah, it's quite good, but I don't stay on a distro long enough, really. That's my problem. So, but I probably tried. Well, I've even tried the new Deepin 20 for a short period.
Isn't it a damn shame there isn't 300 flavors of Windows? Can you imagine being a Windows hopper?
Well, there
are different spins, yes, but
there are projects, but we don't know whether or not they're lawyers.
Don't trust them
yet.
Yeah.
There's only one good thing about Windows 10. You install it, and you know you can't do anything else with it, so it stays.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. You don't want to install it more than once, dude. It's just such a pain.
No, Windows user has to reinstall every couple of weeks or so.
I've had to install images remotely. I mean, it's not that bad.
Well, if you have an image, yeah, it's fine. But like installing it from scratch and reinstalling everyling, no, that's
not. Are we talking home edition?
Especially multi-booting when you don't have UEFI
enterprise
support.
edition in my case.
Right? Well, let's get off Windows because we're not about Windows.
Yeah. I do want to say one thing to Tony though. What Tony needs, the original Tony, he just needs like a half dozen or more, maybe a dozen computers to keep going with all these different distros, so he doesn't have to hop so much.
Or like an IC dock, or like a laptop that has multiple drives. That way, he has a stable distro that he can use, and then a distro testing drive.
Yeah, IC dock's a great piece of kit. I've got one in my tower.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I just need wait for a cure for distro hopping, and I'll be fine.
There's no cure, dude. There's no cure.
No.
I mean, even for myself on my E-Series ThinkPad that I'm using the main drive with the Windows system because for anything that I need to use Windows, and I have a drive that has 2 partitions that I have one main distro and a side distro.
Yep. Well, I got rid of, like I did all the distro hopping I could do on this machine and got the test machine. And that's all I care about. I don't want to do no distro hopping on this machine anymore. No way. Too much stuff to put back and keep running, and it's got to be stable. So,
Rocco, are you still on Pop OS?
I am still on Pop OS. This has been almost a year and a half now.
Wow! Congratulations,
Hey,
Rocco.
I mean, I'm not cured because I still have the test machine to let that outlet out. But on the main machine, I don't do no hopping whatsoever.
And this is what I plan to do with my laptop. The laptop's going to be the test machine. The desktop will stay now on one single distro.
Well, I have to be the same. I'm in a very similar situation, but mine's the exact reverse and opposite. So my secondary PC, which is the older one, that gets hammered with a different distro every few days. My main PC, I've got to put my hands up, has been a dual boot with Windows 10 and Linux Mint 19.3 since February. And I've got no intentions to change it. No need to.
Yep.
Yeah, so Rocco, do you send bug reports to any fixes to Pop OS, the people behind Pop OS at all, or
if I found bugs in Pop OS, I probably would.
I mean, there's probably
Just
some
saying.
small paper cuts or something.
Yeah, it's a bit like saying Carlsberg, probably the best logger in the world. I mean, really, who files bug reports? Really, what we're going to get on to next? I've just finished reading the EULA on this operator. Really.
Some people do follow, report bug reports, and the guys over at.
I filed a bug report this week.
See, Daniel files bug reports, so some people do, but. Yeah, you're right though, EB. It's kind of difficult sometimes, and
I even file bug reports on Windows.
You don't? Do you really?
Don't tell me you're part of the
Yeah.
bug swashing crew in the Insider program.
I am.
That's me.
Of course.
I have.
That could be a new career when AI takes off. Bug report filer. Fabulous. Have a bit of that.
Reasons why they have bounties, EB. They have bounties. They have gamify everything with regards to that.
Fabulous.
Sometimes you get paid for it.
Well,
there's a thing. There's a thing, Shikale. There's a thing.
Oh yeah.
If I have a bug, I don't report it. I just tell Bill, and he deals with it.
We so need to make it easier to do that. There so has to be some type of universal program that is across all of the distros, all of the desktop environments, and just allow you to automatically collect the information that's needed and just send it off and have that work.
That's
So
where
need
I
that.
like Ubuntu. It finds a problem and it says, "Oh, sorry, do you want us to send this to Canonical?"
Yes, but the question is, does that really help? Does
Like,
it
well,
really do
we don't know,
anything?
do we?
No, we don't.
You don't know
We
if
have to
you,
ask
if you
Cynthia
just click
Popey.
X and don't send it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, okay, a lot of times in bugs, you need to have back and forth conversation. They need to ask questions. You never receive if you automatically send, you're not going to receive nothing back with a question.
So I think
in Plasma, if you they have their, I forget what the bug tool is called, but when something breaks, they're like, "Hey, we have a bug. Do you want to submit it?" And then you it does and it analyzes the errors and everything and says it might be one of these, so you can just and if you think it is, then you don't have to report this.
You forgot one part, Daniel.
Yeah, what?
You forgot one part. The part where the bug crasher crashes. That's what you forgot.
Yeah, that hasn't happened to me yet.
Yeah.
But
you also forgot the part where Plasma's bug detector will also sometimes just decide that your bug's not worthy of being filed and just literally tell you there's nothing useful here.
When I accidentally close my own latte dock, then that's not a bug. That's just...
I mean, the thing that detects the crashes, the bug reports, and you go to hit enter, it will determine whether your bug is worthy of filing or not.
Also, don't forget the scope of some of these teams as well. Some of their hardware scope is a little limited to what they're using for testing. And I mean, me for example, I'm one of those out there cases that uses a non-standard docking solution that's not Thunderbolt, and not many people have that solution in use at this moment. I mean, I'm totally thinking about like maybe becoming like a beta tester or something to try to help with these bugs any way I can, and just try. And they even post in the community like, hey, and with what I've experienced on my end with regards to my setup, and has anybody experienced anything similar?
Well, I think we've been doing a lot in the community as a whole, not we as in here, but we as a community have been doing a lot. Jupiter Broadcasting is doing the Bugathon with Fedora, and Destination Linux guys are doing their part in trying to fix this. It's a very complicated situation. There's no easy fix to it. There's got to be a lot of coming together between developers and community, and there also has to be that universal application to make it all work. So it's going to be a long road, but I think we can get there. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, those kind of automatic bug reporters are fine as far as the work, but for example, last week I think it was, I tried to download KDE Neon, the ISO, booted it, burned it to the USB, didn't even boot.
Oh, that's you probably just got a corrupted download. You just have to download it again. And nowadays,
no, because I tried several different.
Did you verify any of them?
No, but I did try several. I did try several different ones. I tried several different ISOs on various distributions.
Did you try your USB?
I tried several different USBs.
Oh, on your disk. I thought you meant just like a Neon, and you. Sorry.
No,
if it won't boot on your laptop, I feel your pain. I've had that happen to me.
Yeah, it was that particular. Well, I know I've booted KDE Neon before, so it's definitely not KDE Neon, you know, as a matter of course. In fact, I've got it on here. But the problem was that, of course, because I couldn't even load it, it wouldn't even appear in any sort of automatic bug reporting system. So I had to go to the website. And a lot of those websites, whether it's KDE or whatever, they're just not very good. You know, the bug reporting system, it just doesn't give a good impression of the system. You know, it can be complicated, hard to follow for someone who, I know what I'm doing more or less, but hard to follow for someone who doesn't know what they're doing. You know,
that's why we need to make it easier, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. They've released at least one more ISO since then, which I don't know if it solves the problem because I haven't tried it because it's running on my machine. But what happened was DistroWatch do torrents of various ISOs, and after about 3 hours of faffing on like this, I decided to just try and see if I can find a torrent of an older KDE Neon ISO, and lo and behold, that worked. So that's how I've got it on the machine. But that particular ISO wouldn't even install.
Not sure about that. Big Pod, go ahead.
Well, about automatic bug reporting working, I actually found a bug in Ubuntu's, or I think it's a bug in Ubuntu's bug reporting software. So that's on Launchpad now, waiting to be fixed. It's for Groovy, so they still have time to fix it before it's released.
Yep. Well, somebody mentioned Deepin earlier. Did anybody try it?
No, I think City Reboot tried it. I haven't tried it because to me it's spyware, but of course that's just my opinion. Of course, there's plenty of people that say there's no spyware in it whatsoever. I just think for an operating system to be that gorgeous, that beautiful, and have that much effort invested in it, It's not. Hey, everybody. Lovely Chinese distro, you're yours, fifth charge. We love you long time. Put on PC. I'm not buying it. I don't get it.
Not buying it.
Well,
Anybody else?
I have, and I'm not gonna, dump any spoilers in, but we're working on making some videos with it and for it at the Linux for Everyone channel.
Nice.
It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. It looks like Chrome OS and Mac OS had some weird hybrid child, but it's pretty. I think what's really important about this release is that they put a focus into setting up the operating system easier. There's a lot of very clean and accessible setup options from the start, which I think is key. They kind of walk you through some of the critical system configurations from the get-go instead of letting you have to figure out that all by yourself. And they also they're working on an assistant built into it that can help make using the operating system more accessible, because not everybody has the either physical or mental freedom to use peripherals in the way that we do to such an extent. So being able to ask your computer to do something for you is a huge benefit to a lot of people. So I'm really excited to see where that goes.
I am Shickle. I'm tell you what, I'm aside myself. I can't wait for that. Can you imagine that? Hello, my name Chummy. What would you like to do with operating system? Yeah, I'd like you to turn it on, please. Let me just check with People's Chinese Communist Party if that's acceptable. 1 second.
Yeah, I understand there's some current concerns in terms of assistance, because obviously they do have to communicate with some kind of server in order to get you the proper results and learn. And that, unfortunately, when it comes to assistant technology, there's not really the kind of free and verifiable system that we have. So people who rely on these things for accessibility, yeah, unfortunately, a lot of times they have to put their privacy at risk to use these tools. That's the same with Google Assistant. It's the same with Microsoft's, what's her name? The Halo girl. Cortana. And yeah, honestly, it is a concern, but I also don't really have anything to verify, the suspicions. Like I don't have enough substantial evidence to say that, like, yeah, this is a spyware campaign. So like I can't put myself in that boat. I just want to see more cool stuff get developed and
Shickle, have you not simply got to run Wireshark, check all the ports that are open, backtrace the IPs where it's streaming the data to, and I think you'll find most of them are in China.
I don't really care where it is. It's more about what the intentions are and like what exactly they're collecting. And the reality of it is like anything that they're getting so far that I've seen be transferred is just not useful to me. Like, yeah, they have my system hardware information. So does everybody else, because I post screenshots of it all the time. Or I don't really mind. It being in China is not specifically important to me. If anything, I'm more concerned about my own government having deep information on me than somebody else's government.
Well, I have to be honest, that is a good shout, because let's be honest, Microsoft not only deploy data telemetry and gathering, they've also got a damn keylogger inbuilt. So they've already got all your bank passwords and everything else. So
there's a lot more damage that can be done to me a lot quicker from my own government than, the Chinese government. I'm like, realistically, by the time they have something to do with it, I mean, we're probably already
it's a shame
bigger problems.
Because Deepin could be a catalyst in changing the landscape for Linux. But you're always going to have those people that are leery about it and don't trust it just because of where it's located, just because of where it's coming from. And it's a shame, because I don't think it'll ever be the catalyst it could be.
Yeah, I agree with you. And don't forget, the exact same thing happened in Russia in reverse. They developed their own secure Debian operating system, which is now out at all their, military, all the government, the KGB, everything else, because they didn't trust Microsoft. So it's already been reverse done anyway.
Yep. All right. Anybody else try Deepin? Anybody else want to talk about?
I mean, I always want to talk about Deepin because I think it's one of the most gorgeous and like well put together operating systems we have. There are issues, I think, with the underlying base. They've got some stability issues that they don't always quite know how to work out.
Well, let me ask you,
But
Shickle, in the appearance wise, it was before where there was a lot to do with the side menu or
Yes.
settings and everything. So what does it look like today?
They've completely ripped that out. And now you've got an actual application, like a settings application menu.
Oh.
It has more than the previous menu had. But this particular one, I think, is not only well laid out, it's very beautiful, but it's, they've added more flexibility to how the desktop can be configured. You've got accent colors, you've got the windows have rounded corners now, which, if that's appealing to anybody,
well,
your
Zorin
windows can
OS
be-
15 Lite has that as well, Shickle. I mean,
Yeah.
that's standard out the box, dude.
It's great seeing more and more distributions start putting this in, because it was really hard to do not that long ago.
The other thing I'd love to ask you, Shickle, if you don't mind, is how does it compare with your beloved Elementary OS?
Well, I think I prefer the workflow of Elementary OS more, but the aesthetics of Deepin V20 is probably more appealing to me, which is hard for me to say because I really like Elementary OS.
We know how much you like Elementary.
Yeah.
So what is it? What is it that's more appealing, or what could Elementary do to bring itself up to that level?
Rounded corners, Rocco. It's easy.
Is it rounded corners? Is that what it is?
You're done.
Man, wasted pixels? No way.
So there's actually kind of a problem with this, is that there are sacrifices that Deepin makes to achieve this appearance benefit. And that comes in the terms of using system resources. And that comes in the terms of having more advanced graphical settings that may perhaps limit accessibility or may perhaps limit the clarity of what things are supposed to do. There's like a lot of translucency involved. There's a lot of like blurring and fancy effects, and that's really, really cool. But where Elementary really shines is that, yeah, they try and make things look very beautiful and appealing, but every single part of that has a specific purpose, because every element has to be as clear as possible across the board to the user. So where Deepin is shining on appearance, it's losing a little bit in terms of accessibility and clarity. And I think that's kind of like, it's a hard sacrifice to make, because I personally don't have any issues with it, because I mean, I can just use about anything, but I think it does pose some drawbacks for some people.
You will not find a more cohesive looking desktop environment or operating system than Elementary. They
do a great job.
Yeah, they do. It's just fabulous how, and they put so much time and effort into that. And, you know, sometimes you think, you know, like they'll come out with like little updates and they'll talk about like little details like pixels in the corners or the shading of the colors, and you sometimes think to yourself, like, why would they be working on that? But that is so important to making it look across the board together. Like, there are some distros you install and they're okay, and there are other ones that you install and it's like, wow, this doesn't look like that doesn't cooperate with this. Like, it doesn't look the same. Elementary is fantastic for that.
It even goes so far as like, when you get dialogues that ask you whether you want to continue or cancel, they enforce that it should, the option that cancels should always be on the same exact side. It should not be flipped in a different dialogue. It should be in the exact same place in any dialogue that comes up, because users who get familiar with their environment are going to just kind of instinctually go to the place that they expect a button to be. And when those things get flipped around, it not only breaks the experience for them, they could potentially click on the wrong button without even realizing it.
But that's so key, dude.
It really is. And it's such a small detail. It takes, I mean, a lot of time and effort into just looking at the little things that cause us to do the things we do on our computers and saying, well, let's change that. Let's invest time into something that, yeah, it's just a button, but it's a button that could potentially make or break the experience. And so it's those kinds of things, I think, that really draw me to it. But I mean, if they added blur and like rounded corners and stuff like that as an
blur
option,
would be fantastic.
Ooh, I'd be all over that.
Didn't I switch over to Linux to escape those crazy like
some people did, yeah.
No.
Some people like less fancy stuff and more simplicity. That's
You switched over to
But I
Linux
think-
because you have the choice to have what you want. But I think it would be awesome to have the ability to have that transparency in something like elementary. And, I just want to really quick, EB, before you go, say about that, like that little cancel box you were talking about, Chickle. I think not only is that important for across the board, but that is important for people who you give this to that don't know anything about Linux. In their muscle memory, learning to use a Linux computer and not even having to think about it. It just comes natural because of things like that. Go ahead, Evie.
Yeah, but don't do. Please feel free to shoot me out the sky and disagree. Wouldn't you agree that Elementary OS is a young, fresh, vibrant operating system that really doesn't care that much that it's on Linux? It's about the OS, and it's that generation of users they're targeting: the young, fresh, the wannabe developers, the wannabe graduates, that sort of thing. It's not really what I would call a Linux Deepin, which is trying to be all things to all people. It knows what it is, it knows where it wants to go, and they do a fantastic job of achieving that goal. I think they do.
They do. Computer Kid, go ahead. We can't hear you, brother. I don't know if you have your mic muted or not.
We broke computer.
Your Zoom mic is not muted, but maybe your headset is.
Oh, it's Pulse Audio, I bet. I bet it's Pulse
Dang,
Audio.
Pulse Audio.
Anyway, there's dead air, so Chicken,
It
go
was
ahead.
Pulse Audio.
Okay.
It was Pulse Audio. I love you, Pulse Audio.
By the way, he uses Arch. Just saying. Go ahead.
If I hear once more, by the way, I use Arch, there's going to be gunshots. I'm just saying.
Well, by the way, I use EndeavourOS.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Endeavor
actually,
is
I'm going to
awesome.
move back to Arch soon because Endeavour hasn't yet gotten support for like ButterFS on root or something like that. I still haven't decided if I'm going for Butter or Z. I'll pick later. But anyways, even though I like tiling window managers guy now, Deepin was actually my first desktop environment that I really got into. I start with Ubuntu proper, so GNOME, but I don't know. It's GNOME. I mean, does a new user ever really love GNOME?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, they
Anyways,
do. I can vouch for that.
Really?
They absolutely do. If it's the GNOME that comes with Fedora, you don't fill it with useless, pointless extensions, and you're a professional. It's fantastic. They love it. Just saying.
Okay, I take it back. I personally did not enjoy GNOME when I first used Ubuntu. So I found out about Deepin, and then I moved to Deepin, and I loved it. The one thing about Deepin that I'm still trying to capture and bring back to my current setup is like that panel on the side that it was like you push the button, panel pops out, everything is there. Wi-Fi settings, Bluetooth settings, theming, everything is right there. And I haven't figured out how to adapt that to any other desktop environment. But I haven't tried all of them. So I don't know. I really liked Deepin. My problem with it was one day they shipped now this might have been because I was on Arch before people started telling me it's because I was on Arch. I was on Deepin and they shipped an update where without calling it as a dependency, they trashed their own, I think they call it like Deepin window manager technology behind it and switched to Kwin without shipping that as a dependency. At least in Arch. So I get an update one day and boom, compositing's broken. All of that's broken. It looks
as far
terrible.
as the dependencies go, that was the Arch packager's fault for not keeping up with the notes, I suppose.
Unfortunately, the way Deepin is kind of packaged in Arch is like they just kind of do it. They don't actually pay attention to like how it's functioning. It's just kind of tossed in.
Oh, do the Deepin people do the Arch packages? I thought it was just like it was an actual like an Arch TU.
No, yeah, there's somebody that works with Arch that does that. It's not really like a Deepin focus. Every now and then they consult rarely, but for the most part, I mean, no one really cares except the people who use it, and then it breaks, and then it's like, well, now that's not good.
Well, I want to go back to something.
Like it might.
I want to go back to something you said, Computer Kid. You said about the whole you haven't found a way to make everything look, or another distro look like how Deepin was with the settings on the right. And I have to disagree, because as a concept, that looked and sounded really good to have everything all in that panel. But in actually using it, I don't think it worked at all. If you wanted a certain setting, you would have to scroll down or know the icon that you wanted. Like, what I'm talking about is people learning Linux. What I'm talking about is people learning Linux, because this is, you have this beautiful operating system, and you have a completely foreign panel that is not really intuitive, in my opinion, for somebody that doesn't know what to do. And I did not care for having all of them settings all in one little tiny panel. If we would have been able to pop that out and use it in a window, that would have been great. And then you could have your preference. But to just make it in that panel, I didn't care for it.
I had addressed a lot of these concerns with Budgie, and also with Deepin, and the issue that this presents, like you said, Rocco, you do have a long scrolling menu of things. It is an issue for actually being able to find things at times. The other issue as well is that by having it built into there, you have a more rigid system that doesn't allow you to actually change things as often. You now have to ensure compatibility with anything that plugs into the system.
Part of the reason I moved off.
And yeah, exactly. Like, that can be a huge issue. So it's really cool. I personally loved it. I loved Raven in Budgie when all the settings were in there.
I
But
need to try that now.
it's really cool, but it does present some issues for actually scaling the desktop, and it presents issues for actually being able to navigate and find things that you need. It's a lot of duplication as well when you have menus that will search in the settings for you, and you don't actually need to open up a sidebar. It just opens up to that specific thing that you want right away. So it's really cool, though. I love the concept. It just it's a struggle, especially when you have panels that can be placed on the side, and now you have this weird pop-out menu thing coming over it, under it, beside it. Like,
no.
Yeah, it's
wasn't my favorite.
It's hard
dude.
to design a desktop.
But yeah, I really like the design of Deepin, but yeah, like you said, Chickle, it was a rigid desktop. You weren't gonna change it like you could change KD Plasma.
Things were well structured.
Yeah,
So
that's
then
what I was gonna say too. You could.
The bad update came out, and then yeah. Anyways, the bad update came out, and somebody in the GitHub issue tracker thing just started like marketing KDE at people. So then I moved to KDE, and then I moved on from there. But I thought Deepin is really good. I really enjoyed it. Definitely a rigid desktop, but it was one of my favorite back in the day. I should probably try it again.
Jill?
Yeah, Computer Kid, and I'm sorry I interrupted you earlier. I totally agree with you that it's not as customizable, but it is absolutely freaking beautiful. It's a beautiful desktop. And I thought it was a really big deal when they merged with Huawei to do laptops with Deepin. That was serious business, because they were one of the first to start that, to put a distro on laptops. And
wait, so is Harmony OS based on Deepin?
I'm not sure. I don't believe so, but they do have an enterprise focused OS that they offer for the for certain companies and organizations in China, and they use the same interface. So technically they're two separate projects, but they use a lot of the same technology.
Yeah, and from what I'm hearing about Harmony, it's supposed to be like a single OS option across laptops and phones as well. Like they're planning on making devices.
Yeah, I believe that's different.
Yeah, that is different.
Can I go back to the whole Deepin is beautiful thing? Because
do it, I dare you.
I mean, I just want to give a different opinion. I know overall, Deepin overall is a beautiful operating system. It is. But there were certain things that I didn't care about it that made it not beautiful. Like, for example, the menu, the way it was. They have a full screen menu, but the spacing on the menu was off. for some reason. And although,
Oh no, did they misplace a pixel?
well, you laugh because, look, I'm sorry. I just look at those things and once I see it, I can't unsee it. There's just, you just can't. Like, okay, for example, GNOME. You have the full screen launcher. It seems to me that GNOME has that perfect spacing between everything. It's not perfect altogether, but the spacing on it is, to me, the right amount. And specifically with Deepin, the spacing was just off. I mean, if you put so much onto that screen where you actually have to turn both ways to see the edge of it, I think that's not good. I think you should be able to see everything in a glance. So if you're putting more than like 5 rows, I think that's a bad thing for somebody using it.
Imagine what that's like on my monitor.
Oh wow, dude, I can't even imagine.
It's literally like my wingspan to the left and right. It's a little
Yeah.
crazy.
I enjoyed the big monitor, or the full app launcher because it was pretty to my eyes, but I never used it. I just hit the button to open it, and then I banged out what I wanted, hit enter, and it opened the app. I treated it like Rofi, even though it was full screen.
Yeah.
I think there were other little things that I noticed, and I'm not going to bring them all up, but it's just it is overall beautiful. But there are some things in it that kind of take away from it that they can work on. Man, the transparency is so awesome, but other little things are,
Even the leading on the font is a little off sometimes too.
Yes.
Would you call it a paper cut, or would you call it like some sort of like feature bug?
Altogether, it's.
I mean, I think that. Okay, so something like that bothers me to the point where I don't want to use it. Like specifically, like with the menu. Every single time I'd open that menu, that's what I would be thinking. So there's no way that I personally could use Deepin because I see it as soon as I open it, and it's a big.
Also not sorted.
Yeah, and it's a big part of what you're doing on the desktop. So I know maybe some people say, "Oh, I use launchers. I never use the menu." Well, I use the menu. I use the GNOME menu all the time, like completely all the time. And I'm sorry, there is no other better menu with the overview that GNOME gives you. You just can't beat that. I'm sorry.
Jeff, you got your hand raised.
Yeah, I was just thinking that's if you have an operating system or a desktop that doesn't offer you much choice, that's the problem. You either like it or you don't.
Yeah.
And if you're at work, who cares? You use what people force you to use at work. If you're at home, you want to be comfortable. If you're a developer who can use his own machine or can use whatever he chooses, you want to be comfortable, and that's why, although I don't change it very much, I absolutely love KDE because to me it works really, really well. People who know me and know that I joined Linux when in the old bad days when Microsoft was saying Linux is a cancer and so on. They'll look at my desktop and they'll say, "Oh, it looks like Windows." I don't mind that it looks a little bit like Windows, a little bit more like Windows than GNOME does, or than the Mac does. What I care about is that I like it that way, and it's not the problems that I had with Windows. Maybe they don't exist anymore, but those are what pushed me to Linux. But I like KDE because you can change it in a million different ways if you want to. There's no law saying you have to.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's the great thing that we have in Linux, that we can choose. And I don't think there's many developers out there changing as far as like looking for a new distro or operating system. I think they've all chosen what they wanted to choose. And I don't think you're going to find like people trying to jump on Deepin as far as like the developer community. But like I said, I think it could be that catalyst.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I just mean that a developer is probably more likely to be able to choose the machine than say someone who works in a call center. They're more likely to be able to say, I want a Linux machine or a Mac machine or a Windows machine, than someone who has to use a specific application because that's what the company uses.
Yep.
Okay, guys. Well, I'm sorry to be rude, but I've got to make like a tree and leaf.
That's
so
very
I'd just
rude.
like to say, fabulous to see you all. Please, the people in the United States, please stay safe and well. Look after your families first, above all else, as tough as it is. Rocco, thanks again, mate, for doing an absolutely brilliant job. Thanks for bringing this to the UK. Enjoy your Linux, everybody. Enjoy your gaming. Be well. Much love from the UK. And hopefully I'll see you in the not too distant future.
See you, EB.
Before you go,
Have a good night.
I just wanted to say
Thanks,
I
Echo
really
Bravo.
enjoyed the conversation with you. We don't get to chat much, but you're awesome, dude. You're a
bless
hoot.
you, my friend.
Yep, we've missed you, brother.
Oh, bless you. Well, you all just keep well, enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you for the next controversial biddle.
You always take it off track. Everybody knows that. So
it was natural,
Hey,
Rocco.
I thought
Sorry,
it was
dude.
Dr. Random here, man.
Yep.
Watch
Anyway.
out for Tesco's, EB.
Yeah, well, I'll don't worry about that. I shall be there with my little notepad and pen and paper because you don't need batteries. You know what I mean? I'm just not suffering from that. Take care, everybody. Much love.
See
Cheers.
you, man.
Keep buying from Amazon.
Well, now the conversation is going to be boring, ain't?
Well, you say that. Now we've got rid of the dude in the house.
Okay. But now everybody else can talk, huh? Come on.
All right, let's go back to Google. Okay.
Well, you guys got anything you want to bring up before we move on?
Before we move on,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say on the Deepin front, you were talking about sometimes those little quirks, those inconsistencies.
Mhm.
Deepin is kind of based on two toolkits. Wow.
Really? I didn't know that.
It's GTK. Wow, I can't speak. GTK and Qt. And so while this is really cool
What?
because it means that it can theme both, it also sometimes doesn't do both well. But yeah, it is both
Cough,
GTK and
LXQT,
Qt.
cough.
Ooh, shots fired.
Savage. But just thought I'd bring that up. That does contribute to some of the little paper cuts that you might notice between applications.
But see, that's a perfect point because I couldn't pinpoint what these things were. They just looked a little inconsistent. And I think that may be the reason, just because there are certain, changes in toolkits. And this is why something like elementary is so important, because you can have the most beautiful desktop around, but if it's not consistent, it's going to have some problems. It's going to have some, Donald McManus said, these little inconsistencies, they create usability problems, and they do. And I totally agree with that. And I really hope that Deepin does get somewhere with fixing that.
Computer
Well, I
Kid,
think-
I just want to say that was real low, digging LXQt when Dan isn't here to defend it.
Dan is
I wouldn't
actually
say that around
working.
Dan.
So I wish he was here too to talk about it, but
Man,
he's
I'm
actually
watching the
working.
stream in the background.
But actually, Dan, if you can hear me, LXQT, it was supposed to be able to do GTK and Qt, but does it really do it that well? Actually, when I was researching my presentation for self, I discovered that that's actually one, in addition to like some other stuff, that was one of the main reasons they created LXQT, was to merge the GTK-ness of LXDE and the Qt toolkit and make them one interoperable thing.
Turns out
like,
we're bad
kind of
at bringing
purpose.
things together.
Yeah, we're the Linux community. If we ever manage to bring the things together, we'll create an alternative.
Yeah. Well, look, there are so many roadblocks to us coming together as a community and, like, say, picking a distro or any of that kind of things. And it's a shame, but it does exist. I think that there are a lot of people out there trying to work on it, but yeah, can't
Why
deny
don't
that.
we
You
just-
can't
The
deny that
good-
it
but-
exists.
I want us to remain splintered because it's the choice of Linux. Like, we came here for choice. If we make everything the same, then there are going to be people who don't get their choice, and then Linux isn't going to be right for them anymore.
Yes, but I think that's the problem, though, Computer Kid. I think that people feel that if we got behind, say, a certain distribution, that all other distros would go away and there would be no choice anymore. And that's just simply not true. We would still have that choice. It's not that you would no longer have a choice and you'd have to run this distro. It's just that we would get our focus behind it. So when we were explaining it to people that don't run Linux, or we were explaining it to wherever, we were promoting it, we were, you know, this is what you try, but the choice is still there.
My main concern, though, and with regards to that outlook, trying to focus on one choice, focus on one choice being the mainstream choice, wouldn't that sort of miss Linux's original prime directive per se? The more mainstream, like I've been noticing something, the more mainstream Linux is becoming, the less free it seems to be becoming, if that makes any sense.
So it's a common misconception, but Linux, like as in the kernel, as in like the technology built with Linux, there actually isn't anything about it that's specifically like subject to being FOSS or open source. That's purely a community attribute. In fact, a lot of the time, proprietary solutions and deployments are some of the most successful and widely used arrangements of Linux. Look at Android, for example. And while I am a fanboy, I'm bringing this up only because it's a massive player now, Chromebooks with Chrome OS. We have really good options in the Linux sphere in terms of like traditional distributions like Ubuntu and Debian. But it makes it very hard for companies and developers to support us because we don't really have one place to start that they can target, that everybody can use, that everybody can get on board with. We kind of force developers and publishers to hold most of the responsibility of our inability to sort of have a platform. We just it's difficult because the choice is great. I love that I can boot up into KDE Neon, but that doesn't make it appealing for developers who have bug reports from 20 different platforms, all with different issues.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah. Eris.
I disagree.
Ooh, thank you.
Well, I agree with Chico.
I would say that there's no way you're going to convince everybody to do one thing. I think if you saw the Nate Graham interview with Rocco, he talks about how there's a lot of volunteers and everybody has their own little projects that they want to do, and to get everybody on board to do something, it's really hard. I think instead of doing one thing, we should just try to use Linux's diversity to its advantage. And that's kind of what is happening. Like if you see Elementary OS is doing its own thing, Ubuntu is doing its own thing. It's very different idea. And I think that works better in that sense. And it's more realistic because we can't even agree over single click and double click.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. We can't even agree that we should agree on something.
Yeah,
so
there we go.
And but also another thing in this sphere is that like what Eris said, you can't make everyone want the same thing, is that a lot of these projects, KDE being a great example, if you ever like look at their list of apps, it's nuts, are duocracies where you vote, like the developers vote what they want to do by coding it. And the things that win are just the things that get the most people interested in them. And hold on. I misquoted. Yeah, sorry.
Cue the music.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I'll put it later.
Well, I'm gonna have to agree with Chickle. I think we definitely need something to get behind, and not just because we want something to get behind, but for the actual development of it, for the actual promoting this to companies. How many times have we heard, will you port your application to Linux? And the question is, which one? Like, how many times have we heard that? We shouldn't.
I think that's a
need to hear
cop
that.
out. I think that's a cop out, and it comes down to market size. Once
Yep,
we have
big-
market size, it won't matter what Linux.
But I don't think
they'll pick the
and-
biggest one, which is probably Ubuntu at that point.
But
I think that's a cop out.
I don't
companies
think
always
it's a
use.
cop out because you're trying to convince businesses who make money off of their applications. So that's the first big hurdle that you have to overcome is which one. So you're already behind the gun because Linux has the market share that it does. So now you have to convince people that even though you're not going to make a whole lot of money here, you should still probably port your applications to Linux. And again, that next question is which one, and you can't pinpoint it. So not only do you cut the market share down to what Linux has as a whole, but then if you pick a port or a specific way of packaging this app, you're then also even cutting that down more. Like, think about it. If your company just then develops for snaps, there are people who don't use snaps. So you're going to cut that market share of the people you're going to reach down even further.
There is one thing though, is that if you just pick a Linux to target, like if you just target Ubuntu, then eventually these other communities will probably figure it out. Like DaVinci Resolve only is packaged for CentOS, right? And you can get it working on. No, I'm not saying it's a great situation, but you can get it working on a bunch of other Linuxes, and like even honestly, okay, snaps is a good point because there's no way to like. I'm not sure how easy it is to like pull out a snap and make something else out of it. But I think if everyone just got like the most corporations are already basically if they're making something for Linux, they're either making it for Red Hat or for Ubuntu or for both, and everyone else can just figure it out. I say that as an OpenSUSE user.
Yep. Jeff, go ahead.
I wonder if we've now seen Lenovo taking up Fedora and Ubuntu, I think, and whether it was a reaction to them doing it or HP were planning on it anyway. HP are starting to do it now, and certainly you can't just go into the Lenovo or HP web stores and buy any laptop with Linux, but it's certainly more visible than it was. And I wonder if that will improve things, especially since Lenovo said specifically, we're going to allow Fedora. Because as far as I know, apart from maybe small boutique manufacturers like System 76, just about everybody who sells a Linux laptop says Ubuntu. If you want to install something else, fine, but we'll give it to you with Ubuntu. I wonder, and I wonder if it'll improve because of things like this, especially since now with the big four, you've now got something like the companies who represent 60% of the market offering Linux. Not on, as I said, not on all of the laptops, but everybody else, including Apple, is like in single figures compared to the big four. So I would like to see that make a big difference to the people checking out Linux. I think at first, especially because of the laptops that they're offering, it'll target, as Steve Ballmer used to put it, developers at first. But you need the developers on board to create the apps for users. So in 10 years, it could look very different.
We may just have a chance. Jill, go ahead.
Yeah, so for a long time, that's been my kind of my answer is having Linux available on the hardware is what's going to give us the adoption. And I think in doing that, we'll help create more of a universal OS. I mean, it's kind of Ubuntu right now, but we've got Fedora on the Lenovo desktops. And there's some of the other major manufacturers. You have a choice. And of course, there's Pop OS. But to me, that's always been kind of how, no, not so much that we need a universal Linux, but that there's adoption on the hardware and the companies are selling it on the hardware. And someday we'll maybe be able to go to Best Buy and buy it.
Yeah.
And, but I do agree, it would be nice to have some universal elements of our desktop, not unlike what Elementary OS is working on with a universal app installer. I think it's beautifully done. And if we had something like that on every distribution, that could go a long way in helping the adoption.
Pretty good outlook. I like the positivity as well.
I have to be positive.
It's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Eris, you got your hand raised.
Yes, I agree with Joe. I think it's not so much people putting the system on their computer. If the computer has a system, they're going to use it, and that's a big roadblock for Linux. That I mean, now it's not like that as much, but especially back earlier years, you couldn't find Linux in anywhere. Like you could go to the store and just buy a computer with Linux. You would have to probably order through online, had to know that it actually existed. But I want to ask everybody to raise their hands who thinks that we should have one system, like one.
Well, wait. Let's qualify what you're asking. Are you talking about one system and one system only without choice, or one system that we promote but still have choice?
One system that we promote.
Yeah.
Definitely think we should
Also,
have one
should we
system.
camera raise our hands, or should we do the whole like Zoom participants raise your hand?
Oh, don't do that. I'm gonna get so confused.
So I have a follow-up question after that.
Go ahead.
So everybody who raised their hands, so Ubuntu has the biggest market share, probably, right?
Yes.
That's what everybody thinks. It has a great company behind it. It has like support. It has an LTS. Everybody who raised their hands will all switch to Ubuntu tomorrow?
It's not about switching
I
to
don't need
Ubuntu.
to. I'm already there.
It's not about switching to Ubuntu because you still have the choice. It's about promoting one company and all of our force getting behind that company or that distro, whichever one would be picked, to say, this is the one we promote to people that we're talking to about Linux, especially new users. This is what we promote to say, if you want to try quote unquote Linux, start here. This choice is still there. So it's not, that's why I said it's not about taking away choice or, well, we promote this distro, so now that's the best distro. No, that doesn't mean that that's the best distro because everybody has their own way of working. Everybody has their own choices, their own way of thinking. So it may not be the best one for you, but overall as a community, it would be, here's where you start.
It's okay, ladies. All your distros are pretty.
The best distro is the one that gets your work done.
Exactly.
Yep.
I think there are three key things.
I'll get back to you, Sam. Shikl, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Did I interrupt someone?
No, go ahead.
Oh, my bad. There are sort of three key things that I think it would address, at least for me, that are concerns. And it really all does come down to having limited ability to focus on multiple platforms as a developer or as a company. But basically, one of the biggest issues I think we have is things like support for GPU acceleration in web browsers or in applications. The thing is we have the technology, but we have like 10 different ways to implement that technology, and neither Chrome nor Firefox have really kind of like gotten around to it, because it's like, well, if you're on Wayland or if you're on X, and if you're on either of those, if it's NVIDIA or if it's AMD, do we implement VOPI or do we try and get NVENC working somehow? Like we have amazing tech built by people who are incredibly intelligent and can put together wonderful systems, and we're just kind of throwing it all at them. And I think it's not about, as Rocco said, it's not about everybody only using that. It's about having almost like a funnel where they can target their efforts, and everybody from there, as Daniel was saying, can pull from that. They don't have to officially support every single Linux distribution, because let's be real, that is just not possible. I mean, even Microsoft probably wouldn't be able to, with all their money, wouldn't be able to support every single Linux distribution all the time. It's just too much.
Shikkel, let me ask you a question.
Cool, do it.
If tomorrow we all decided we're going to get behind Elementary and their app store and basically promote that's the way we want to go and that's where people should start, would that not be a good thing?
I mean, I'd be excited, that's for sure.
I know there are going to be people who disagree, but my concern is not the choice. My concern is let's just do it. Let's pick one and get behind it. Not to, and well, okay, so I'm going to again say Donald McCunis? Yeah, maybe I got that right. Donald, I'm sorry for messing up your name before. But he just said if we promote one distro, that it'll still be perceived as this distro being the best. And I think that there's a way that you can market it. There's a way that you can approach it to say this is where you start, but there's a lot of choices after that that could work. And I gotta go ahead.
I would like to highlight, especially because you do mention Elementary. Elementary, in my opinion, currently, I think Ubuntu is the most realistic choice. But if we were looking at simply what things are provided, currently, as far as I know, Elementary OS is the only Linux distribution out there that not only has their own software center with the ability to pay developers, but also has their own toolkit, like their development kit. They have the Granite development kit. They have their own like platform as a whole, not only their own desktop environment, they have their own SDK, they have their own application center, and they have a way for developers to get paid for what they do. Ubuntu doesn't even have that. How does a developer publish an app on Ubuntu? I mean, they don't. They either make a snap, and currently they don't get paid for it, or they still have to choose a toolkit. I mean, maybe it's Qt, maybe it's GTK, who knows? Like, Ubuntu doesn't offer that kind of thing.
Right.
So Ubuntu is the most realistic choice because that's the user base there. There's the pretty much the largest community, and they have Canonical, which hopefully they would work with to provide the best experience to users. But on a technical level, Elementary offers like literally everything else that's required. So it's kind of, I'm biased, but I mean, I would love to see like real solutions.
I figured Elementary that choice would get people's hair up on the back of their neck. So, Sam, go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Rocco. I just understand your point of promoting as a one distro to the newcomers so that we are able to reduce the entry barrier for the new people coming to Linux. But my point of view towards the whole argument is, why can't we create something like an app store for all the Linux distros? Something like a universal way of downloading software so that all the distros, Arch and Ubuntu base, can download, so that there is no barrier which distro you're using, so that the command line arguments and the commands are all the same. So there won't be a need to promote one distro, saying that this is easy for the beginner, or this is tough for, or this is for the intermediate user. If you can universalize those kind of things, then the base becomes meaningless. And if you promote a single distro and it grows, it also creates a sort of monopoly in the Linux community. So we should also look for that. Say you're promoting X distro and it grows to a level of 80% of user base. So that's sort of a monopoly. So we should also check on that. My idea would be create a universal repo where every distro, whoever it is based on, say Solus or say Arch or Ubuntu, everyone can download. So there is no war between which distro I'm using or which I'm not. Everyone is able to use or download the same software using the same commands. So that becomes meaningless. So everyone is happy and everyone has their choice of
So
distro
if I
also.
may, I definitely appreciate the potential that that kind of solution would have, because that sounds like it would make things a lot easier.
And
But
we
it
can
does
stop
kind
the
of,
fight.
well, it kind of creates its own issues. So that would work if Linux was all the same. But what happens with a situation like that is that when application developers create an app, they take into account the environment that it's going to be used in, unless, you know, it's just maybe a web app that has no integration whatsoever. But in that kind of situation, application developers are no longer allowed to create apps that are specific to the environment that you're in. If I make an app that works great in GNOME and works super well, ties into the notification center with like little like player controls, if I do those kinds of things and it's shipped out to every distribution that could possibly exist, it's going to work great in only some of those, even though it's available everywhere else. And on top of that, this kind of system would would limit distributions in their flexibility and ability to implement their own technologies. See, it would make packages available everywhere, but now those distributions would have to stay the same to make sure they they work with this repo that works across the board. So it would kind of, it would, I mean, I like the idea because that would make things so much easier, but
And that would make us possible to pay the developers much more, universally, so that everyone can
Isn't that
get
the
their
App Center for?
applications into this repo, and we can pay them universally, no problem.
Isn't that? Sorry.
I think that is the solution I can see. I mean, I may be wrong. You can disagree with that, but that's what I have found.
I
The
like the idea.
fragmentation.
It's just technically impossible.
Yeah.
And we as a user base are just terrible at like settling on this. Like MX doesn't use systemd, so you can't have snaps, and people think snaps are evil, and people are like, I don't want flat packs for whatever reason. Like we are just terrible at agreeing on anything technological or any sort of solution.
Let's be honest, Computer Kid. We are terrible at anything, including names. Like agreeing on anything.
Love Linux names.
Like it's just terrible. I agree.
And like
Most of them.
we can't use flat packs because they don't push a proper repo, and like we can't seem to get happy with anything. Like it would, any of these, this is a great idea, but it's just technologically, Shickle said, it's technologically very difficult, multiplied by the factor of us not wanting to, or like us not being able to unite on a technology just because like we want our choice, and if we don't get our choice, then we're not happy with that anymore. So even if it's the solution, then we lose our choice, and then we're no longer happy, and it's not the solution anymore.
Okay, so
I really wish it would work. But
This kind of thing actually exists, but it is 20 years old, and you probably don't want to use it. It's called package source, and it is the entire NetBSD repos, which has a lot more software than you think it does, that they have designed so you could install it on. There's another company that provides binaries for, I think, for Red Hat and for like Solaris or something. I don't know, but like basically they've designed it so it like will do an automatic compile from source where you won't have to mess with it on any Unix, where it's just like install this tree and run this command. However, it's kind of weird to set up and it causes problems. And yeah, I know someone that uses it though.
I'm going to reiterate the fact that when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about not taking away the choice. So that has to be said every time somebody says it's taking away choice, because it's not there to take away from choice. But Donald, if you want some good points of why we shouldn't do this, Donald has been bringing up so many good points about, you know, who would we back, and it's a company, and there's a lot of big ifs in backing something like that, and the advertising part of it. And so you should read through the YouTube chat and see some of the great points that counter this argument. But Abdallah, go ahead. You've been really patient, brother. Sorry. Abdallah.
Hello, you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
We
brother.
hear you.
Yeah, because I did have a problem with the internet, so it was marking it was unstable. Anyway, it's good that everybody hears me. I agree with the fact that we should promote just one version, but we don't ban the others. But I might also disagree because, you know, I mean, it can overshadow some potential good. Some good potential newcomers. I mean, new distros. Like we were talking about Deepin. A lot of people here like it. So I think maybe we should promote one, but not only just one. I mean, I don't know how to explain this point, but just the idea of just promoting one could be overshadow some distros that's also that are very easy to use too. So,
but then we get a flat or a snap flatpak app image argument again, where it's we've got three, we need to build a new universal one. Like we're going in circles.
Well, that's the biggest problem with anything.
That's
with anything
tricky.
doing with this community is that you know, Linux or whatever the case may be, life in general, is that there's no way you're gonna please everybody.
No, you're not.
You can make this universal package manager. Somebody is still gonna tear it apart and say, nope, I want this.
And build an alternative
whatever.
and decide it's based on bad technologies and decide they don't like the motives of the company behind it and decide they don't like the developers.
It's kind of like what they do with Arch, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
I think that, diversity is good. I mean, from the experience that the country where I live, I mean, they just have one version of everything. The results, everything was bad here. So, I mean, diversity has its good points, but also it has its withdrawal. And as Jason said, there is no perfect solution. But anyway, that's my point.
I want to propose something, and this is something that I maybe have even written articles about.
Imagine that.
And yeah, I know, right? Perhaps narrowing our recommendations, or perhaps even seeing Linux distributions as entirely separate things. And I know I always ruffle some feathers with this, but we kind of say Linux as if Linux is even a thing. But the only real guaranteed thing here is just that, like, yeah, it runs on the Linux kernel, but like, you never know what desktop's installed. You never know what package manager's installed. Oh, I'm doing it.
Imagine MX versus Kubuntu. Like, they're Linux, but compare them.
Yeah, they're very different. Yeah.
Like
and I think that's perhaps kind of like, it's difficult because if you separate them all out as if they're all separate platforms, then all of them have like no market share at all. But you don't run into the technical incompatibilities where something that you say works on Linux only actually works on Ubuntu or LBRY OS. Because I know if I make an app and I'm using LBRY, I'm pretty much only gonna make it for LBRY because I have no reason to do it for everything else. So is it fair that I call it a Linux app, or perhaps it's an LBRY app? So I don't know. I'm just tossing that in there that maybe Linux isn't even a platform.
Elementary, my dear Shickle.
Oh yes.
Well, Donald brought up too about recommending a set of distros, maybe like 5 different ones. I think that could also work. I think it would have to include like maybe what package management is behind that, because like I said, this is not just, we're not just talking about recommending something to new users. We're talking about recommending it to developers to develop their applications on. So you can't recommend 5 distros when 2 of them have different package bases. So you would have to also, that we would also have to agree on those 5. So I don't know if we could do that or not.
Yeah.
Nope.
And it's like, so when will you port your app to Linux? Well, where do we do that? Well, we've got these 5 different options, and you have to go with all of them because those are the main ones. But the community disagrees with some of those 5 options, so here's 2 more that the community prefers. Like, that's how it works.
Then you got to go when you get into the whole concept of new user friendly. There's going to be different degrees of their technical abilities as a new user. You know, they could be somebody that's just coming from Windows and doesn't know the first thing about a computer. And then you get the, you know, the tech nerd that's been using, you know, using Linux off and on here and there, but haven't used it like 15 years or whatever. And they're still, by our terms, you know, still quote unquote a new user because they haven't used it in X amount of time, but they have the technological background to figure it out. You know, so you got to figure out, you have all these different factors in trying to determine one way of doing things, or, you know, it's just not something that would ever happen because, like you've said, everybody wants choice, and the key word with choice is they want to be able to do it their way. I mean, you know, that's why they have, you know, a lot of people. It's not a new user thing, but like Arch is, you know, you can customize it and develop it, you know, make it to what you want. You know, build your own packages or whatever to, you know, to get your Arch distro going or whatever you want to call it. But then you got the people that just like it, you know, the click a button, download it, install it, and then you're done. You know,
The Deepin people.
Those are the 2 different spectrums. You got the people that can handle the super techie part, and then you got the people that just want the simple and easy. And you're never going to find a common ground between all that because there's no way of guaranteeing, you know, gauging what is too much for the simple user, so to speak.
Yep. Hey, look, this has been a great conversation. We have to end it because we are
2 o'clock.
Like these 2 hours flew by because this was such a great conversation, and I love you guys for being here. I appreciate it. But everybody gets the last word. We'll do it again in a few hours. MC, go ahead.
It was a great conversation, and I hope to hear more for everyone later after watching the review for BDLL later. So.
Nice. Computer Kid, last word.
Man, you never done me so early. I didn't even have time to think.
You're at the top of the list, dude.
It was a great discussion. I really enjoy this discussion. We've had it a couple of times here before. I feel like we always say the same thing, but I enjoy thinking about it. And hopefully I'll see you all at the next BDLL tonight.
Jill?
Well, remember, Linux is a 2-edged sword. The beauty of Linux is in its diversity, and the complication of Linux is in its diversity.
It is its greatest strength and greatest weakness all at the same time.
Yes, and thank you, everyone. And this has been so wonderful, and I wish I could do this more than once a month.
Great to have you here. Aris, last word.
Thank you very much for the stream. Just want to say that the Linux community is very, very knowledgeable about technology. They like changing everything, and they like customizing their distro and doing all these things. And that is not normal. And that's part of the reason why we have such a hard time coming together and picking something. If people who didn't install the Linux by themselves would be using the system It wouldn't matter what system it was. It would be the system, the one that was easiest, most accessible, that would win automatically. And I would place, I like to place my bets on Steam and on shipping Linux with the hardware now. I think those are the best bets. And that's kind of sad because what that says of the community.
Well, there you go. Big Pod, last word.
Well, already if I have to recommend someone, Linux distribution roles, recommend just one, that is Ubuntu. And especially since it has Snap, so almost universal package manager. Even if they then afterwards switch, they will still have that to fall back to. But thank you for the European edition. It's great to have it at the same hour, at least once a month.
Jason, last word.
Well, it's definitely great to be here. I'll see you guys, so some of you guys again tonight on the next edition. But it is great to be able to have these discussions in a nice environment where we can just talk tech. And thank you, Rocco, thank you for doing this, and Shikol, thank you for helping out tonight.
Tony, the original Tony, last word.
Yeah, thanks for the European edition, Rocco. It's a different vibe, just as enjoyable, great conversation. The only thing I'll say about Linux is it's fantastic to have such a great choice. It's one of its plus points. It's also one of its worst points. And that's coming from a seasoned distro hopper. Take care, everyone, and I hope to still be awake to see you all those of you that are here later tonight.
Robin, last word.
Thanks, Rocco. As always, great to see you all yet again. Looking safe and well. Lovely to see you all. For me, last word, I'm looking forward to doing some great testing this month. We are fast approaching now a freeze on Fedora 33. So Fedora 33 coming to beta this week, I understand. We've also got the release on Thursday of Endeavour, the September release. So they're going to be releasing 2 ISOs side by side. I've got one for ARM and one for their regular release. So I can't test the ARM one yet, but again, I'm looking forward to testing out that release there. Besides that, I shall let you guys know on the next one how I got on using Ubuntu Studio in my new role. So keen to let you know how I got on there. Otherwise, take care of yourselves, everyone. Stay safe and keep checking out my videos.
Robin, please remind us next time. We'll talk about that.
Yes, we'll do.
All right. Shikol, thank you for helping out, brother. Last word.
Gladly. Well, it's great to be here. Some great conversations, great input from everybody. I mean, sometimes I say controversial things, but I applaud everybody who gives me differing opinions and who is willing to tell me they disagree with me. I love more input from people. So like, doesn't matter if you agree or disagree. I want to hear it. So thank you all for chipping in and really kind of expressing this. I mean, it's part of the benefit that we have is the ability to have open discourse. So I appreciate that.
But I want to add to that we've brought up topics, we've talked about different situations, and there's been much in the chat about going back and forth of what this. But this is more about just bringing the idea up and talking about it than anything. It's not about agreeing or disagreeing. It's just about us. Hey, let's do something to fix this. So,
I love that.
The Bearded Wonder. Go ahead. Last word.
Thanks, Rocco. Just to say, great to be back and listen to all the different opinions on the conversation tonight. Didn't have much to say, but yeah, it's good to be here, and hopefully I'll be back in October.
Nice. Sam?
I would like to thank everyone for giving me a platform to talk about Linux, which is one of my, unsaid love. And the opinion from me to, further the reach of Linux would be more companies, putting out pre-installed Linux laptops or systems, and it's a controversial opinion, but I always thought about App Store or a store like Google Play, so that all different UI systems like Android can download the software from a single repo, so that the differences becomes lesser and lesser, and all are able to use the same software, even though the UI and all the other parts are different. And in that way, we can support the developers more, and there will be a little less tension or war in differing opinions. That's it. Thank you.
Jeff, last word.
Well, thank you for having me, Rocco, and everyone else. It's been a great conversation as always. Stay safe, everyone. Have a great week. And I'll most likely see you next month.
Bill, last word.
Thank you, Rocco. Thank you for Jill and Tony and everyone that's in Europe that can show up at this normal time instead of the late times. And we'll see what crazy stuff Chicken can put out this week.
Abdallah, last word.
Well, thank you for having this conversation. I learned a lot of things, and I'm thinking of trying Deepin after this conversation. Also, Linux, what's amazing with Linux, it's diverse as people are diverse too. So, and as Jill said, the diversity of Linux is its best point, but also its weakness. So anyway, thank you, and everybody stay safe. That's it.
Daniel, last word.
Hey everyone, thanks for giving thanks for providing like a platform to talk about Linux and everything. A bunch of other like-minded or maybe not so like-minded geeks. And I think I'm going to sidestep all this controversy in before this evening's biddle by installing FreeBSD. So
that's going to be popular. Anyway, thank you all for being here. I appreciate the awesome conversation. Again, thank you, Shickle, for the help. And we are going to do it all over again in a couple hours, less than 3 hours. We will be back to talk again about different stuff. So, yeah, until then, long live Linux.
Yay,
Farewell.
Linux.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Now that's a Europe edition. I